Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video. Today I'm going over the Quarter 2 stats for Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team, analysing the June results as well as the May and April results as one holistic view. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of the stats as the review as a whole, what do you think of the trends and just what you think in general. As also, I've got a Discord you can check down in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, today I'm looking over the Quarter 2 stats, as I mentioned, covering all of the months in Quarter 2. So that's April, May and June. So we're going to be looking at all the trends and seeing how the stats have evolved, as well as an overall picture of the current win rate for the whole of Quarter 2, which ties in neatly to the new balanced data slate we've had. And then we can go on from there recording Quarter 3. But this will be our first whole quarter review because we kind of only got the tail end of Quarter 1. So it'll be interesting to see how this evolves from Quarter 1 and just going forward. So it's going to be really great. So yeah, as always, the normal factors that can affect the stats that we use. We're going to use BCP. The other problem is people using the incorrect factions, whether it be because BCP puts multiple for the same faction or put incorrect ones. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You know, you've got slight variations like terrain, people picking tac ops instead of randomly picking them, but it's minutia in effect. Like the biggest factors are people playing on tournaments not using BCP, so we can't sample, although we've had more people hand in results, which is great. And as I said, people picking the incorrect faction, which is kind of, you know, inevitable with how BCP operates. But let's get on to the stat review. So starting over with the Q2 stats, we've got the number of events, games, and unique players. So for the whole of Quarter 3, we've had 94 events with 4,712 games with 950 unique players. Obviously, Spain is leading the way, but America has jumped up in the number of games and events. The UK, well, England, shockingly only has 6, although I know there have been more. There's just a lot of them don't actually use Best Coast pairings, which is understandable. And then you've got Poland with 4, Italy with 3, and then, you know, the rest with 2 and 1. Shout outs to the Philippines. But it's very interesting. Once again, Spain's leading the way, but it's really good to see USA up there. And, you know, England's improved quite a bit as well. For the Quarter 2 stats overview, Harlequins were the best performing faction. They had a win rate of 61% overall with 19 event wins and 25 events they went undefeated in. So, you know, there's some events where there was like 3 or 4 rounds and there was like 3 undefeated players. So you had like Harlequins, so Void Dancer Troop winning, but also coming like 2nd and 3rd while undefeated. And they had a really good meta representation at 8.9%, which is pretty huge. Then we had Veteran Guardsmen, so they only had an overall win rate of 49, which is down from Quarter 1, but they had the second highest event wins at 15, with the second highest number of undefeateds. So it's really showing that sometimes win rates aren't a picture of everything. Now, they were the most popular kill team, so they now have dropped down from that, but 9.4 is still a really good meta representation rate. Then we've got the Real Stars, who are the Legionary. They weren't predicted to do well basically everyone, but apart from Spain, and they've got an overall win rate of 53. They're the most popular faction in the game with 10.19. Really good. They've won 9 events and going undefeated 18 times. Really great showing from there. Commandos have a similar Vet Guard effect where their win rate has dropped, but they're still doing good with events wins and undefeated results, which is really good. Wormblade, they're still up there. It's weird because, you know, they were really popular when they came out, but they dropped off. But they've had 6 event wins with 15 players going undefeated. Pathfinder's still solid, 9 event wins, 13 undefeated. Novitiates, even though they've had a really high win rate, it's come down once again to average 55, which is down from 61% overall from Quarter 1. But they have 7 event wins with 9 undefeated, still really good. Death Guards coming out of nowhere because they're popular. But, you know, they're not the most popular. They've still got a decent representation at 4.27. But they have won 6 events and gone undefeated 8 times. That disgustingly resilient really coming in there. Warp Coven are doing okay. They've won 3 events and gone undefeated 7 times. The Phobos Strike team is kind of unreliable because they just snuck in to the end of June. But they have 2 event wins with 5 players going undefeated, which is nice to see so far. 51% win rate, which is good. Corsairs, they were doing really bad at the start, and they've gotten a lot better. The problem is Craft Worlds have absorbed a lot of their results, but they've won one event going undefeated 4 times. Craft Worlds, 2 event wins, which I'm sure some were Corsairs, and they've gone undefeated 3 times as well. Grey Knights still doing solid as well, and you've got Talons of the Emperor who've won 3 tournaments. Blooded, who somehow did win a tournament and went undefeated once. And then Chaos Demons closing out for the Compendiums with an event win. And then you've got Oddly Space Marines and Tomb World who went undefeated at a tournament, which is very interesting. Now at the bottom you've got Hunterclade, who are actually on a slightly higher win rate than Q1. But, this is before their changes kicked in. But it's an interesting picture overall. And, maybe the balanced Deus Ex was right by only hitting Harlequins, but we'll see. And here we've got the page looking at the win rate month by month, the meta representation month by month, and the undefeateds month by month. So as you can see, Harlequins, April 70%, May and June 56%, overall win rate 61%. Gagor Brood Coven, Novitiates were 56, 56, 52, ending on a 55 overall. Legionary were 48, 52, 58, ending on 53, so really good improvement from them. Pathfinders 56, 52, 52. Wormblade 52, 51, 52, very even, nice to see. Phobos Strike Team currently on a 51%. With a 4.2% meta representation. Oh, hold on. Sorry, 5.7% meta representation, which is still pretty good. And, you've got Craft Worlds, who spiked up to a 59% in June, which was odd. But that they have quite a low player representation, so it's not really an accurate result. Same for the Drukhari at 67% here, even though it's one of the better ones. Warp Coven, they're 56, 39, shockingly bad in May, but doing 55% are really good in June. Corsairs, 45% in April, 57% in May, and 38% in June. So if you were worried about Corsairs being nerfed from the Games Workshop article, you have no fears. Don't worry, they're fine. They're okay. And then let's look at Hunterclade 25%, 40-40. So they've actually climbed up pretty well. And we'll look at Commandos because they've gone 42, 42, 49. So they're actually climbing up as well. So popularity-wise, Legionaries have always been at the top not at the top, sorry, 10, 10, and then 9. Vet Guard have gone from 11 to 8 to 9. So, they were super popular and then have come down, especially Commandos. Commandos have seen a drop as well. A 4% drop is quite huge. And then you've got Harlequins, 10%, 8, and then 7.9. So they're actually losing players, but they're still doing really well. And let's see that, Novitiates have been spiking up and down. So the interesting thing with Novitiate players is they'll do really well, and then more people will flock to the team, make the win rate come down, and those players will leave, and then the win rate will go up. So it's funny to see there. And then Corsairs are getting more popular. As I said, 1.7 was more of an error, but 4 than 5 is good. It's just really bad their win rate has tanked so much in a month. Such drastic changes, a really unpredictable kill team. And let's look at Blooded. Yeah, with the grenade change, I don't think they'll be that popular. And then if we look at undefeateds month by month, so it was Harlequins 15, 5, 5, Vet Guard 6, 8, 10. Getting more undefeated as the month goes on. Legionary with 2, 5, and 11, very good as well. Commando 6, 2, 8, so up, down, up. And then Pathfinders 2, 5, 6. That, The undefeated thing is more interesting because you can have more undefeated than players winning tournaments. It's still a good thing to go undefeated, but can be a combination of having too many players with too fewer rounds. But it's a nice statistic to look at. Overall, it's pretty healthy. Shout outs like the standout one for me is probably the Corsairs, just because they've had such a big drop. Whereas Legionary doing exceedingly well, 58%. I mean, if Games Workshop are balancing month by month, maybe they'll nerf Legionary, because currently Legionary are performing better than they would like, and Games Workshop apparently look at month by month as a holistic, so maybe Legionary should be worried. We'll see. But it's very good stats overall, and nice trends to see as well. So this is the quarter 2 win rate with the excluding mirror matches and meta representation overall. So once again, Harlequins had a crazy high win rate at 61%, not really affected too much by the mirrors. Same with Legionaries and Novitiates, which is quite good, because, the mirror matches have been quite odd, but effectively the mirror matches aren't doing much to affect the win rates overall, which is a good sign. Then you've got Legionary with the most popular kill team. Then there's Vet Guard, who used to be the most popular. Commandos still being really popular. So those two starter kill teams being great, which is, really good. They're fun, popular factions. Harlequins, 4th most popular. At one point, they were the most popular kill team. It's crazy how much people love these dancing space clowns. Pathfinders rising up in popularity as well. Then you've got Wormblade and then Novitiates. And then everyone else kind of dropping off a bit since there. I mean, you've still got decent representation from the Death Guard, Talons, Warp Covenant, Corsairs, and even Space Marines, but Space Marines have always been popular. Then you've got Hunter Clade, who, weren't doing great. And at the bottom, you've got Brood Coven and Hunter Cadre, who are kind of just completely outclassed by, the bespoke versions of those kill teams. So this is the matchup matrix. So this is showing the individual win rate for a faction against each other faction. Obviously, the stronger and brighter the color, the more games are for that faction. And in the next slide, I'll show you the number of games if you're interested. But looking again, so what we saw, this is the overall of quarter 2. So Legionary are actually got a 55% overall win rate against Pathfinders. They have a 75% win rate against Phobos Strike Team, 67% against Space Marines and Talons of the Emperor, and then a 55% win rate against Vet Guard. Now, on paper, Pathfinders and Vet Guard are supposed to be their counters, but it was in May where they did... No, sorry, it was in April, where Legionary were doing really well against Pathfinders and Vet Guard, but then in April, those teams clawed it back. So it's basically the April results which have kind of kept that win rate quite high, but it's still pretty close, which is really good for Legionary. And then as we look at the Void Dancer troop, their win rate is a little less crazy. It used to be 100% for 80 to 100% for most of the factions. It's still ridiculously high, but it has come down. Notably, they had a 33% win rate against Craft Worlds, which was probably some Corsairs. They had a 50% win rate against themselves, and they had a 43% win rate against Pathfinders. Now, Pathfinders are a good counter to them, but I feel it comes down to the mission as well. But it is good to see that they do have a natural enemy with the Pathfinders, but also Wormblade, who have a 48% win rate. So for Wormblade are beating them 52% of the time overall for quarter 2. So it's a very interesting look. And obviously they've got 69% against Talons of the Emperor again, which is nice. Very nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the overall win rates. You can have a look, and then I'll just switch from percentages to actual games now. So as you can see, we've got a lot of games recorded. Some matchups are in the 50s, especially for the Harlequins. Even Legionary, 53 games for Pathfinders and Vet Guard. So those are very reliable stats. Basically, anything in the oranges is very reliable. And you can see there's been a lot of games logged. You can kind of ignore anything that is 1 to 10. It's not the greatest, but, we've kept it all in there because it's what people have wanted to see. So it's just backing up the percentages if you wanted to see how they correlate. And then now we just have the meta representation versus the win rate. So, you've got the high win rate versus how popular they are. So obviously, Harlequins had the best win rate, but weren't the most popular. Well, they were 4th most popular, which is still really good. And, you've got Legionary being the most popular kill team, but still having a really good win rate because, you're looking for 55 to 45%. And generally, everyone has been around that for bespoke teams, except Harlequins and Hunter Clade. Let's find the Hunter Clade. Oh, look, there they are. There. Look at these nice Hunter Clade. But, it's mostly healthy apart from the compendium teams, which, it's not really unexpected to see some of them doing so badly. But, So for comparison, this is what the current win rate overall looks like. We're going to clear it up because it's mixed in with some of the July results from this weekend, but we'll tidy up in a minute. It's not up to date. Well, it is up to date, but not for it's over up to date, if that makes sense. But here is how the results looked before the quarter 2 balanced data slate. So he said Novitiates at 63%, which has come down. Vet Guard at 59 and Pathfinders at 59, which have both come down. Brood Coven, which have come down as well. You know, Vet Guard was still the most popular. But here's how the game was looking 3 months ago, and I'll just bring up how it looks now. So, you know, from what, even though we've sorted it with undefeated, going back to this again, most kill teams are basically not above 55%, which is really healthy overall. You know, you've got some few outliers on 60, like Brood Coven, which isn't really reliable. It's just Harlequins at the top. But, you know, it's interesting. You know, Q1, we had one kill team above 60%, which was the Novitiates, who were on 63. And now, overall for Q2, we have the Void Dancer Troop, who are at 61%. But they've already been affected by the balanced data slate, so we'll see those effects going into Q3. Whereas the Novitiates haven't been touched at all. So maybe they're fine. But there we go. That's the stats for Q3 and June as a whole. So yeah, you know, pretty much looks quite healthy. Obviously, we've already had the balanced data slate for Q2 go into effect. So if you weren't aware, Void Dancer Troop now don't generate 2 command points a turn when they've unlocked their Sadeth. And Segrex's Jest doesn't work against crits. So we'll see how much that affects their overall win rate. Also, the biggest change is how all grenades have been limited to 1. So maybe we'll see some changes there. But overall, despite my personal feelings, the game seems pretty healthy, which is really good. Overall looks fine. You know, we all have our own personal like tweaks we'd love to make to the game for like balance, but the game looks pretty fine. And, you know, ignoring Harlequins who have, I guess, been addressed and should be fine now, you know, it's going to be very interesting going forward. I still think the changes to grenades are the biggest effect, way bigger than the Harlequin changes. So it's going to be interesting how that correlates for Q3, because we're kind of in a different game, in my opinion, because so many people are relying on grenades. It's difficult because, you know, if you're against a team that had a lot of operatives, you would spam like area of effect grenades, like blast grenades, and then if you had elite people you needed to worry about, you'd spam crack grenades and stuff like that, you know, your anti-personnel grenades. So those are going to be biggest factors going forward. Really keen to see how the meta shapes after this, especially how we've watched it shape over April, May, and June. Very, very nice. You know, because it's the first full 3 months we've looked at, because we kind of only we started at the end of Q1. So I hope this journey has been enlightening and interesting. It's been very much so for me. And, you know, we've added a lot of stuff people have requested, like really like the matchup matrix, and, you know, that we show how many factions have gone undefeated and how many events they've won. So we've kind of tried to clarify what the data shows, because I feel just showing the win rate on its own in pure percentages without any sort of detail can be very misleading and worry a lot of people. Because, for example, like, you know, us and Games Workshop use the same number of stats. It's just the same stats. It's just odd because our only cutoff is we don't include events with less than 8 players. I guess they're including them because a lot of Corsair players are worried that Corsairs are going to get nerfed in the next balanced data slate, because it seems Games Workshop are focusing on singular months they like instead of a whole quarter. So we'll see, because we definitely know for the Q2 balanced data slate, they confirmed they ignored the April results and focused on the May results instead. But that's another that's another like thing for balance in general. As I said, overall the stats look pretty healthy. But big thanks goes to Hot Sauce Teddy. He's the one who collates it and, you know, does this all for everyone. So always give me a thanks, especially if you see him anywhere like on my Discord and stuff. But wouldn't be possible without him. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Quite short and sweet. I'll have an article up as well, which will be down in the episode description below that you can check out. But please remember to like and subscribe and comment. Let me know what you think of the stats, how they've evolved, and how, you know, we've done this process. Is there anything you liked and didn't like, or anything else you'd like to see? And, you know, I've got a Discord if you want to check it out for free down in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But I'll just go and quickly thank my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Theodore, Zamaru, Tarun, Kenzie, John Thomas, Joe, Adzik. And then for my veterans of the crit, I have Sam, Joe, and Confucius. So thank you so much for your support. It really helps with improving the channel and helping making better content for everyone. But But yeah, that's pretty much it for the stats. A lot shorter this time. We tried to keep it more concise. But yeah, overall, really happy with how it's going. Thanks to Hot Teddy again. All down to him, as well as for the Honest Wargamer for helping us out as well. And, you know, it's just good to have an independent look at the stats. You know, I've tried to keep any sort of balanced questions and stuff like that out of it. Just trying to keep it nice and neutral. I'll probably, well, you know, do balance separately in another thing, because it's a very complex situation. Because, you know, personally, even though a lot of things are fine, I still think some teams could be tweaked so they're better to play against, because some teams are still quite strong. But, you know, overall the game looked really good, and maybe the Harlequin nerfs are enough, but the biggest change is definitely going to be the grenades, which will take a while to see effect, because it's going to change how people play. But that's pretty much it for me, and remember, no matter what the stats say, you always have the chance to roll a crit, as long as you can believe.